I want to start setting up some layers now. For right now, we're just using the default layer. But I want to start using layers like characters, backgrounds, and bots, and so on. So check out my previous video if you don't know, or if you haven't seen the video on creating this custom buttons on setting up some default layers. So we're going to start with the character layer today. I could just click on the characters and set up the character layer here, but I'm going to automate this a little bit. So I'm going to first go to the layer. I'm going to go to where the layer adder script is. And I'm going to create a new script called layer changer. I'm going to go in there. Start with the namespace. And inside this script, I want to be able to designate a certain layer that I want the object to have. So I'll have a public variable, call it layer type. And I'll also have some options here. For now, I'll just start with one. And the option is going to be change all children. Okay, so I'm gonna save and go back. And I want the character to have this layer changer. So I'm gonna add the script, layer changer. And I want the layer type to be character. I'm gonna go into the editor folder and create a new script to create custom buttons. Call it layer changer editor. Go in there. And I'm going to use the Unity editor for this. Again, the namespace. And just like before, this is going to inherit from the editor class. And it's going to be a custom editor for the layer changer script. I think this is the format. And we need to override on inspector GUI. And we want to draw the default inspector. I also want a custom button. I'll call it change layer. And if this button is pressed, I want to get the layer changer script. And I want the layer changer to have a public function called change layer. And if you press the button, we call that function. Before I write the script for this function, I want to press Ctrl T and go to the layer adder editor, because there's a function that I would like to use from this script, which is get all layers. So I'm going to turn this into a public static function. And I'm going to go back to the layer changer. So I want to get the dictionary, the current dictionary of all the layers. Dictionary. And I should be able to call the function, because it's static now, get all layers. And I want to pass this on to the function change layer. Press F12 here and add it as a parameter. layer dictionary. Save everything. Now that we have a dictionary of all the layers, we can change the layer of the game object. So first, if change all children, if this option is false, then we just change the layer of the parent object, the root object. So game object layer, and we get the layer from the layer dictionary. We get the layer by calling the key, the layer type. Okay. But if we have the option to change everything in the hierarchy, then we want to get all the transforms. We get components in children. We want to get all the transforms. And for each of the transform in the hierarchy, we say layer is what we've chosen from the public variable. So we're changing everything here if we have this option. And I'll debug this. I'll debug the log here. I'll call it. First, I want to get the game object name. Changing layer. This is just for clarity. We don't really need to debug, but I just want to be able to see this action in the inspector. We do the same thing here, except we get the game object from the transform. Okay, I think we have everything. So now if I go back to Unity, I want to find the layer changer. And let's say I want to change the layer here, ground for example, and I say change all children, and I click on change layer. Every single game object under this parent should now have the ground tag, the ground layer. And I can also do this manually. I'll change everything to default, change children. And we're now back to the default layer. And I want to say, I want this object, just the parent, to be character layer. So change layer. So this is now the character layer, the parent, where the box collider is. Okay, so we see the box collider, but everything below is just default. I'm going to do the same thing with the Y-bot. I'm going to add the script, and I want this to be the character layer, and I'll click on change layer. So now the blue character, the box collider, will have the character layer, while everything else below will have the default layer. And let me click apply on everything. Now if I click play, something funny is going to happen. Now the character is not colliding at all with the environment. If I go to project settings and physics, here we see that only default layer is going to collide with other default layers. I'm going to go to the layer adder and change this. Okay. And here I want to say, do not ignore the collision between the character layer versus the default layer. Save. And if I go back to Unity, and I'm going to go to the layer adder here, and now if I click on set default layer collisions, Okay, we now see this box getting checked automatically, character versus default layers. I can also uncheck everything or check everything, uncheck everything and set it back to default. Okay, so this is the collisions that I want. And now if I click play, the box collider should be colliding with the environment now. Okay. What's interesting now is that the characters are not going to collide with other characters. The box collider, I mean. But we also have the front detector and the ground detector. That's going to detect the characters, but you're not going to land on top of the character now. Okay, you're just going through him. I'm going to define, later I'm going to define what's going to happen when you land on a character. Right now you just go through like nothing's there. I'm going to change this later. And I also don't want to trigger the landing animation when your feet are touching the head of the AI or the NPC. So let me exit play mode, and I want to find the ground detector. Go to where it's looking for collisions or raycasting. And here I want to go into the ledge script, F12. And I want to add a similar function here, just like the others. And I'll call this is character. And we're going to be looking at the root of whatever we're colliding with. And if that root has the character control, then we want to say that it's not the ground. So here, I'm going to add the line. Whatever the ground detector is detecting has to be not the player. So now the ground detector has three things that it's not going to interact with: the ledge checker, and other characters. If I save everything and go back and play, if I try to land on the character, you're just going to go right through him. Okay, but we're now detecting the ground. This bug where if you hit the head and trigger the landing animation, I'm going to fix this later. I guess it happens sometimes. And for now, I'm happy that we got the layers. Okay. Everything that I did in this video, I could do manually in the inspector just by clicking. But now that I have these custom buttons, I can just click on them and I don't have to do everything manually. I don't know why I have two of the same script, so I just removed it. So clicking buttons is a lot easier for me than going through the layers manually, so I think I like it. I'm going to make sure that I have applied everything. I'm also going to save the scene. And that'll be it for today. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.